Hi, everybody. Welcome to our latest episode of On Friendship. This is, I think, our 32nd episode that we've done
Whoa,
together of On Friendship. Can you believe it?
that's a lot of episodes.
Yes. I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Alysa Lucas is here, friendship expert.
Hello.
Yes.
32. Wow.
Yeah. That's not including the Christmas movies or the ones we did
Oh,
before. That's just like official
goodness gracious.
On
That would
Friendship
push us
episodes.
probably closer to 40.
Yeah. Yeah, it's let me see. And I have a letterboxed list of all the ones that, and this doesn't include the adventure episode we did. I didn't include
Ah,
that in the, but so we've done 46 movies that you and I have
oh,
talked about together.
whoa. All right.
46.
Let's keep it going.
Yes, that's right. And I'm excited about the movie that we're talking about today. It's called Just My Type. And
Hmm.
this movie aired in 2020. It was it was like right in the thick of when things were getting canceled and everything in the
Yeah.
pandemic. So that this whole spring season was kind of like our last sense of sort of
Yeah.
normal Hallmark for a while, and our last sort of season, and then pretty much from there onward, they were kind of grasping for
Yeah.
for any
Doing their
content. Yeah,
best.
I mean,
Doing
what
their best.
what they pulled off in 2020 cannot be understated. I mean, it is
Yeah.
unbelievable that they managed to still produce and to still do 40 movies is for Christmas is just absolutely amazing. But
That's wild.
the
40?
the I think it was actually even 41 if I'm not mistaken, but the uh the in between period in 2020 from this spring season to Christmas was rough. They were so I mean they were just buying, anything that had previously aired in Canada or anything that and there were just ones where you're like, yeah, I can see why you originally passed on this.
Well, and now it's like it's just a reminder to be grateful for the good content
Yeah, it's true.
that exists.
Yes. Uh, so how has your September been? Do you have a good start to the school year? Pretty good start?
It's busy. It's a
Busy,
whirlwind. I
yeah.
can't We're about to start week 4, so just busy with classes, and I'll be traveling with the football team. So
Oh,
that's
yeah?
exciting. Yeah, it's just, busy fall. I've been decorated for Halloween since August, so I'm
No.
ready.
So what do you do for the football team?
I work for athletics as a faculty liaison, and so it's all
Oh.
about like student advocacy for the student athletes. And so when I can, I try to travel with the teams, and so I haven't been able to do it since before the pandemic. And so I'll be
Uh-huh.
going to with the football and then volleyball later. So
Oh,
it's
yay.
just a way to experience. I mean, it's quite a feat to see what happens in a short amount of time and moving that many people and that many moving parts. And so it's about having that experience and then also sharing it with other faculty and folks on campus to help them better understand the student athlete experience. There's a lot that goes into the job. That's another podcast episode.
Wow, I'm glad you're back at it. That sounds
Yeah, yeah. It's
rewarding.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's fun.
good. Well, good.
How
I
about
do
your September? You've been
yes, my
busy.
my September was very busy. I, of course, went to D23 and
Mhm.
Disneyland,
Followed
and
along online, so yeah, it looks like
yeah, I mean it's exhausting, but a lot of fun. I think that I had a better experience at D23 than in the past because I had experienced it before and I kind of knew uh,
Yeah,
how to navigate it.
yeah.
And the the roughest part is when you're waiting for these big large panels that sometimes you have to wait 4 or 5 hours, and when you don't have any back to sit on, like any
Oh,
chair or
yeah.
anything, that it is brutal. Your back starts
Yeah.
to feel it big time after about 2 hours. It hurts really bad. And so I only did one big panel this time, and I was lucky enough. A friend of mine, you got to have, if you got a reservation for a big panel, you got to bring a
Mhm.
+1. And
Yeah.
my friend Jonathan was kind enough to make me his +1, so we only had to wait for like
Yeah.
2 hours. So thank you,
Nice.
Jonathan.
Yeah. And as someone who has back pain, that sounds terrible, but at the same time, rewarding in the end. Once you make it into seats and get to
Yeah.
do the whole panel and that sort of
I
thing,
mean,
then that's
last
really
time I was so tired by the time I got into the panel, I I kept falling asleep. Like I worked so hard to get here. Why am I so tired? But
that's
that's D23
amazing.
for you. But
That's amazing.
there were some cool panels. Like I went to the Muppet Christmas Carol panel
Ooh,
celebration. That was really cool. And they had both the Muppets and the performers and behind the scenes director, composer, people like
nice.
that.
I love the Muppets.
Yeah, so that was really fun. And then I went to a celebration of Encanto, and that was really fun.
Mhm.
Where Lin Manuel streamed in, said, "Hi
Ooh.
to us all." And that movie, if people don't know, they completely made that movie over, like virtually over streaming,
Wow. Wow.
which is amazing. All the artists, all the voice acting, all of that was all done. They didn't actually meet as a cast until the premiere,
That's
which is wild.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a great trip and living
Yeah.
the high life in the sense that, like, you're doing what you love to do, so that's great.
Yeah. I'm very, very, very fortunate to be
Yeah.
able to,
I'm
yeah, to
happy
be
for
able
you. It's so fun.
have found a way to kind of clobber together the my dream job. I feel very fortunate, and I'm thankful to
Yeah.
everybody who listens to any of my podcasts. Thank you so much, because
Yeah.
it couldn't do it without you all, that's for sure. So, and the patrons and everybody. So thank you so much. But today we are talking about, like I said, Just My Type, which
Mhm.
aired in April, I think, of 2020. Uh, and I hadn't seen it since then, so it was kind of interesting to revisit it. And I really enjoyed it. I
Mm,
think it's a solid little, cute little movie. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be fun.
let's do it.
All right. The little summary on IMDb is just says Vanessa, a features writer in New York City, hopes to land the interview of a lifetime with renowned mystery author Martin Claiborne. So this stars Bethany Joy Lance and Brett Dalton. I mean, what did you overall think about the movie?
I thought it was cute. Like, again, I know I do this probably every episode where I remind people that I grew up watching Lifetime. Okay. And I have watched some Hallmark with my mom because she loves Hallmark. She always asks me, "So what are you and Rachel gonna talk about?" And is it on,
Yeah.
like, her Amazon so she can also watch it if we've, like, rented a movie or
Hmm.
something? She's,
Yeah.
like, gotta figure out about it. But I grew up really
Hi,
loving
Lisa's
Lifetime.
mom.
Yeah, exactly, Nancy. Um, she's lovely. But for me, I always come in and I'm like, "All right, what's this gonna be?" Because I'm a little bit of a pessimist, I guess,
Uh-huh.
when it
There is
comes to
definitely a side to this movie that is Hallmark or horror for sure. Like you could
yeah.
easily make this a horror movie without
Yes,
changing very
let's do
much.
it. That'd be a fun Patreon. We turn it into a horror movie.
Well,
So, but I basically come into each one like, "Okay, what's this gonna be like?" And I really enjoyed this one. The one thing I would say is that I really liked the primary characters, and
uh-huh.
although I understand the need for the other characters. I didn't necessarily enjoy any of the other people. I was like, let's
Mm.
just focus on Vanessa and Martin, and of course, his beautiful dog, Ernie. And so I was like, let's just focus on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, they last year there was an actress, Natalie Hall, who did a movie called Fit for a Prince on Hallmark, and then she
Mm-hmm.
did a movie called Stalked by a Prince for Lifetime,
Oh
and
my gosh.
they both had the same prince, Jonathan Keltz, in the
Can
movie.
we,
And I'm
can
like, this is a
we,
great idea. You have every Hallmark movie should have a Lifetime thriller with the same cast.
I am so on board. And Rachel, I realize Christmas movies are coming, but can we please watch those two in the early 2023 for On Friendship? Because that sounds amazing.
That would be fun.
And also,
Yeah.
Stalked by a Prince, I have so many questions.
Well, this one, because she does kind of stalk him. So
Oh,
that's where
oh,
it gets sort of Hallmark or horror-y.
oh. That's a great idea for a
He's always kind
podcast.
of there, and in real life, you'd be like, "Go away! Why are you bothering me?"
Yes.
Like,
Hey,
but
Rachel,
it works.
if you have time for another podcast, that's a great idea. Every Hallmark
Okay.
we could turn into a Lifetime movie.
That would be fun. I
Oh
mean,
my
well,
gosh.
I'm done with Heartland, so why not?
We're filling the
Uh,
gaps.
yeah. Uh, but I think that the leads are so charming,
Mhm.
and there's enough kind of good banter going on here that I'm able to kind of go with it, and
Do
it's certainly not creepy or anything like that.
no, but have we watched movies with either of them before?
You know what? I don't think we have done a Bethany Joy Lentz
Let's
movie. I'm
add them to
looking
the list of
through.
the people I like.
um, yeah, I mean, she does a lot of really cute movies. She's very
Mhm.
charming,
Mhm.
very likable. And I don't think even in our Christmas ones, I don't think we've done one with
Wow.
her.
Why you been hiding them from me?
He's Johnny.
And he's Darren.
Do you like movies?
Do you like your childhood?
Do you like movies from your childhood?
Do you like podcasts about movies from your childhood?
If you answered yes to one or all those questions, then you might enjoy Nostalgia Cast. It's a podcast about movies from your childhood.
So if you're nostalgic for nostalgia, then you might like Nostalgia Cast. See, that's the name of our podcast, Nostalgia Cast.
Yeah, I think they got that.
Should we sign off?
Let's do it. I'm Johnny.
And he's Darren.
And this is
Nostalgia
Cast. I win.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes, okay, so this is sort of maybe something I haven't vocalized as much, but maybe just, the inside thinking as I'm watching these. I find the women a lot more charming a lot of times than the men. And I thought he was really charming,
Mhm.
and it made me really hate her ex because I was like, he was terrible and he was only on screen for 20 seconds. And I was just like,
Yeah.
no. And then we meet Martin, and I was like, double no. What were you thinking? And so I'm like, Martin, how are you hiding out in a little town from everyone when everyone should have the opportunity
Yeah,
to
I mean,
enjoy your charm?
I do think that the men in Hallmark movies are fairly replaceable. I mean, that's what
Mm.
people were like. People and the women are somewhat replaceable, but especially usually the men. I mean, you can
Yeah.
have almost any of their sort of uh, s- their stable of actors that
Well,
you could place them in, and it would be exactly the same.
I feel bad
But
that we're saying these things, but there are some of the actors that are extremely charming, of the male men actors, right? That I'm just like, I love them, and maybe it's because other ones I'm like, I wish I
yeah,
could have been in the casting room.
I mean, I normally don't have a problem with the casting
Yeah,
in Hallmark movies. Sometimes the chemistry's just not
yeah,
there
that
for some
might
reason.
be That might be more of it rather
yeah.
than like not liking the actors per se. It's the
Yeah, I mean,
chemistry.
it happens sometimes. You remember when we talked about Christmas at the Plaza?
Oh God.
Yeah. But I thought the chemistry
Bringing up
and the
old
casting
stuff.
was so off in that movie. It really ruined it for me. And it was a perfectly good movie in every
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah.
But, but I think this is one of Bethany Joy Lentz's best films that she's done. She has another one called Bottled with Love that is very cute. I like it, but the way that Hallmark advertised it was kind of hilarious. They were acting like it was an Oscar frontrunner with this movie. Like the ads were like, set your DVRs now, the romance of the year, like
Oh my goodness, they were
was,
going hard.
they really were. So then, I mean, it's almost impossible to kind of live up to that kind of expectation. But it's a cute movie. And then she has one that she did for Lifetime, which we should do one of these days, called Snowed in Love. That's
That
very
sounds
cute. That's probably my favorite of hers. She had a big hit last year with Tyler Hines called An Unexpected Holiday, I think is what it was called.
Okay.
That was very popular, and I liked it for the most part. It's hard. These movies get so hyped up that sometimes like, it was called An Unexpected Christmas. Like I didn't like it as much as a lot of people liked it, but I still liked it.
Yeah. I'm writing them down so I can, because like I said, I just like really liked them each individually and then together.
Yeah.
It's like
This is one of my favorites of Brett Dalton. This is one of my favorites of his. He was charming. There's no other way to say it in this movie.
Well, it was one of those things where you're like, I really want them to get together, and here, spoiler alert, they will. But like,
because she's legit like a crazy person in this movie, and he's just like, look how cute she is. I appreciate.
Yeah, I did think, and we'll get into it, I'm sure. So I'll just keep this short. I'm surprised he didn't have a little bit more pushback on her being, and I'm going to use air quotes, journalist.
Yeah. Well, she's right. She writes about the trends and where to find them. And in the beginning, she's talking about hot yoga. And,
with goats,
and
right?
then goat yoga. Yeah, which is a real thing. I've seen that before.
I am terrible at yoga, but I would try to get into yoga to see some goats.
The goat yoga. I mean, who even thought of that? When did that come up? That people were like, let's have goats.
I don't know, but they're genius. Genius.
That's the hot trends of 2020. Little do we know what trends were going to be coming up.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah.
Zoom. Masks.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Those trends were the worst, and they better not come back in fashion.
Please no.
In like 15 years.
So the senior lifestyle editor position is open, and she wants it real bad. She's living in New York City, and she is dating this guy named Jack, and he breaks up with her at the beginning.
She's too good for him.
She's all talking to her friend, and the friend says, she says, don't you just pick someone and make it work? And then the friend says, can you make it work if it's not the right person? So this is an interesting idea. So do you just pick someone because nobody's perfect, obviously you're going to have to make concessions and in a relationship, but do you just pick someone that's pretty close, that you like and you like spending time with, and you make it work? Or does it only work if it is the right connection?
Well, here's the thing. There's a third option. And that is single life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, that's tough because if you're always thinking there's going to be something better out there, then you're just never going
mhm.
to be able to settle down or not settle down like have a family, but just like settle in your life and enjoy it if you're always looking for something like, no, I don't want to be with this person. There's going to be something better. And it's like, but yeah, that's a tough decision. I still go with option 3.
I mean, I'd be ready to go with pick someone and make it work, but
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten those options presented to me in life. So
Yeah, I mean, same. So, so yeah, I mean, any relationship is going to need to be maintained and concessions and things like that. So,
yeah.
but so yeah, I would definitely go with that option over option 2 of like wait for it to be like a perfect situation that's
Mhm.
not going to happen.
Yeah.
So 1 or 3, those are
1
my
or 3.
options.
So they end up seeing Jack at yoga, with
Mm,
another girl, and, they're
run. No, just
very
kidding.
upset. She's upset about it, and, the friend invites her to Amber, I think is her friend's name, invites
Yes.
her to go to her parents' cabin at the lake, and, they're all like, "Cute girls trip." Which I thought you would be a fan of Amber, and watching
Yeah,
this
I
movie, I'm
liked
like,
having a
"You like
friend in
her."
there for sure.
Mhm.
I also though had some serious moments of what was that Christmas movie we watched where they went home and their parents turned the house into a bed and
Oh,
breakfast?
we have seen a Bethany Joy Lance movie. She's in that.
Why is she
Yes.
in 2 bed and breakfast movies? Because that's essentially that's what Amber's parents have. But I was like, uh-oh. Because here's the other thing. There's something about the bed and breakfast. Like, I realize bed and breakfasts are usually in old houses or other houses. But the 2 bed and breakfast movies I've seen, I feel like it's a 1980s mansion.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. And
What are
it
the odds that she would be in 2 bed and breakfast movies? That's
that is
wild.
I didn't even realize that, but you're absolutely right. And it didn't seem like anybody was staying at the bed and breakfast.
It's not going so well for
I mean,
mom,
especially
pa.
it being Founder's Day, I that's it seems unlikely.
Yeah, we
Founder's
got
holiday.
a plot hole here. If
Right.
people aren't staying there, then it's not a bed and breakfast. It's your
Mhm.
house.
But
It's your
honestly,
home.
staying at this kind of place by a lake is peak vacation to me. That or the ocean, one or the other.
Yeah,
I
peaceful.
love that. It's so much fun. So it wouldn't take much convincing from Amber for me to
Yeah.
go with her.
Yeah, no, it
To
was beautiful. Even later when he shows her like why he settled, was it Thompson Lake, something like that?
Mhm.
Why
Yeah,
he
it's
settled
gorgeous.
there. And I'm reading a book right now called The House Across the Lake, which is sort of like a murder mystery, but
Mhm.
there is something peaceful about being out on the water. Even like as I'm reading that, I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't think that's the message of the movie because there's murder and stuff, but I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'd really want a house on the lake. Let's do this.
Yeah, I went to Bear Lake in Utah this summer in July, and that was so relaxing, so much fun. They had open water swim there
Hmm.
that I entered, the Bear Lake Monster Swim.
Scary.
And that was really fun. So yeah, this is my kind of trip. My kind of trip.
I
Get a
just want
cabin,
something
relax.
nature, peaceful.
Mhm.
I still have Wi-Fi so I can stream
Yes.
television
Girls
and good
trip.
food. And yes, we still have to work this out, Rachel.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm the guest room is waiting for you, Lisa.
Let's do it.
It's waiting. Now you're going to be busy with all those football games. So
Well, no, I'm only going on one trip, but I'm still
good.
paying off my trip to Prince Edward Island.
Oh,
Once that's paid off, then let's talk.
it's a deal. It's a deal. So they get to the town, and she thinks that evidently they have full service gasoline stations in this place, and Amber thinks that that Martin Claiborne is the attendant of the gas station, and then I forget Joy Lance's character's name. She comes out, and Vanessa comes out, and she's like, "Why is Martin Claiborne pumping our gas?" and he's just being super nice, and it turns out he's a very famous writer, and I tried, but wasn't able to figure out. I mean, I guess if he's on the level of I don't know what would, like, a Mary Higgins Clark or something like that. Like, I'm trying to think. He is
John Grisham,
super famous. I mean, John Grisham,
James Patterson.
I think he does mysteries. James Patterson.
James Patterson does, yeah. I mean, they're like, yeah, murder.
Mm-hmm.
How many times can I say murder in this episode today? Let's find out. Well, I have two thoughts about this stop. Number one, I lived for gas stations where they pump gas for you, because we had some where I'm from in Lansing, and then when they went out of business, I was like, damn it, I'm willing to pay extra money for someone else to pay my gas. Number two, I think we have a second plot hole. Wouldn't Amber know that the gas stations near her family's home are not operating that way?
Probably. I would think so. But yeah, that's a fair point. I wish that all gas stations were full service. It is so nice to not have to just not have to deal with it and get I mean,
I realize people might label me lazy, but I'm paying for it. I will pay for it. That is something, especially in Michigan, where we have cold winters. I will even throw another $5 on the top of the pot. Please pump my gas.
So I think, James Patterson seems to be the best comparison here. His books sold more than 425 million books.
Are we talking about James Patterson or Martin?
Well, see, he said that his last book sold 2 million. That's what Martin says.
Gotcha.
And I only seen his total books. I'm not seeing how much James Patterson's last book sold. But anyway, a lot. He sold a lot of books. And so I think that's what you're supposed to get, that this is like,
yeah, big deal.
And really, he's like a famous recluse. So he's like, what's his name for Catcher in the Rye?
But is he a recluse? Because that's I take issue with that.
J.D. Salinger.
He just doesn't want to be in the public eye. But in his town, he is out and about and doing all sorts of stuff. A recluse,
that's
I feel
true.
like, doesn't leave their house.
Well, he's a famous recluse from doing interviews.
Oh, okay.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. Writing duo Christopher Palaha and Anna Gomez are back with the second book in their From Kona with Love series, Where the Sun Rises. Dubbed as a modern Romeo and Juliet by the San Francisco Book Review, Where the Sun Rises has become a highly anticipated follow-up depicting multicultural romance, love, loss, and redemption woven into a family saga set in the beautiful islands of Hawaii. Though connected, each installment in the From Kona with Love series can be read as a standalone. The series falls into the genre of clean romance and is best known for its lush island backdrops. Says Publisher Weekly of the first installment, quote, Gomez and Palaha's descriptions of Hawaii are postcard worthy. The breezy pace and gorgeous setting will stoke readers' wanderlust, close quote. Where the Sun Rises promises to whisk readers away to the idyllic island of Hawaii. Protagonists Mele Moana and Adam Yates meet at the wedding of Mele's friend, Andy, where they are paired up in the wedding party to walk down the aisle together. Their worlds couldn't be more different. Mele is the daughter of a plantation worker, and Adam is the son of one of the richest men in Oahu. They do have one thing in common, though, big dreams. Dreams that will take them into opposite shores. But that's not the only obstacle they must overcome. Adam inspires Mele to face her fears, and she restores his faith in redemption. Yet, with love comes sacrifice, and the goals they've worked so hard for may end up tearing them apart. Ultimately, Where the Sun Rises is a story about overcoming adversity, the promise of young love, and the valor in letting go. Where the Sun Rises releases on October 11th, 2022, and is available at all major retailers where books are sold. In-person and virtual book signings will be popping up in Los Angeles and Chicago during the months of October and November. Make sure to pre-order your copy of Where the Sun Rises today at your local brick-and-mortar bookstore, and it'll be waiting for you to enjoy on October 11th. In the meantime, immerse yourself in the Kona world by reading moments like this. More information can be found here at vesuvianmedia.com/from Kona with love. That's vesuvianmedia.com/from Kona with love.
Sorry.
That's what she says at the beginning. She's talking to, so they have this like meet cute, and she even knows the name of his dog.
Yep.
That's Ernie, his dog.
Dog was cute. Add it to the list of great pets in a movie.
And she says, we don't want him to think we're like stalking or something. And Amber says, you know the name of his dog. You already are that person.
The opposite movie of this would be Misery.
Yeah. I did see that in one of the Letterboxd reviews. They're like, Misery is not a romance.
That's classic.
And she is talking to her publisher after this meet cute, and the publisher, not publisher, her editor. She's talking to her editor after this meet cute, and the editor says that the other people in line for this position have scored big interviews. Like they're like interviewing Oprah or something, like huge. And so she says that she has this big interview with Martin Claiborne. And I feel like that's a good name, Martin Claiborne. That sounds like
it feels like an author name.
Yeah, it does. And so she has this package to deliver to him that accidentally got delivered to Amber's parents.
Like, can we say she didn't have to? She's trying to get that interview. So she is making it happen, because otherwise let Amber's dad do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah. This is her in. It's kind of the glass slipper, kind of thing. The excuse to go to the house.
Exactly.
And she says, I can't tie him to a chair and make him talk. And then Amber's like, I hadn't thought of that. That's funny. And so they have another kind of meet cute with the package. And they're both just, again, so charming that it takes away the weird factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, at least. And the truth is, there's the whole thing on How I Met Your Mother. They would talk about the Doppler versus Dahmer effect. So with Doppler, which is the last name of the guy from Say Anything, so he does a grand gesture, and it's very romantic because we like him and she likes him, so it's romantic. The whole thing with the boombox and everything. But obviously, then Dahmer, we don't like that. And so
Wait, are we talking about Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yes.
Like
So if the same
the guy
person
who
and we don't
murdered
like,
people?
if the whole idea on How I Met Your Mother is that if somebody that we like does something, a grand gesture, then it's charming and sweet. But if somebody we don't like does the exact same thing, then it's creepy and weird. So it's
Here's the
Doppler versus
thing.
Dahmer.
I'm on board with this. We talk about this in my classes when we talk about stalking, that there's a line that's very thin between whether or not you like someone, how you view the behaviors. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I just didn't, when you said Dahmer, I was like, does she mean Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Look it up. It's from How I Met Your Mother. And so they go back forth, and then she proceeds to stalk him when he's out fishing. And this is probably the best sequence of the whole movie. Is this whole fishing sequence is very funny, I think.
She's fishing catfish.
Yeah.
But
yeah, she says that she's trying to catch catfish. She's like, I didn't even know there were catfish in this lake. And she hooks herself fishing, and it's a total disaster.
So embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that whole sequence is very funny, and she brings the kind of the physical comedy to these roles that is refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was very good. And then he says, I'm done caring what other people think about me. But she has 10 columns that she needs to fill up, which seems like a lot. That's a long interview.
Yeah. That's like a big deal too.
Yeah.
Like people, it sounds like people would want that, but also that's a lot to write.
This guy is like mega famous. I mean, it's like Stephanie Meyer and J.K. Rowling rolled into one, evidently.
But at the same time, I'm like, how's he just rolling around this town? Like, people don't know where he lives. Like, people can find that stuff out on the internet, like, super fast. And it's, like, surprised that people are not, like, creeping around Thompson Lake and they got the
especially
paparazzi.
if he's window washing strangers' cars. Yeah. So she tells him, she goes to the town hall meeting, and there's this whole Founders Day, and it's a lot of work, and he decides he needs help. And so she says that so then they have this whole conversation about his recent book that she didn't like as much. And so she tells him the main character was predictable and that it was playing it safe. And he said, aren't we all playing it safe? And so, which is, it's an interesting kind of thread to have in a Hallmark movie, that you're going to criticize a writer for the same stories. Or a predictable stories.
I mean, James Patterson gets those criticisms as well.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, Hallmark pot calling kettle. I mean, they're not exactly known for their original storytelling. I love the predictability, but come on.
But also, I think it's interesting, you know, his reaction to her, because, you know, he's planning to, like, quit writing those books.
Mm-hmm.
He has writer's block, and he's decided to quit, and he's all, we're all playing it safe.
I mean,
so
later on when they say, all I've been doing is repackaging the same stories with different jackets, I mean, again, to say that
James
line
Patterson
in a Hallmark movie is
but it's also James Patterson. This I mean, it's classic.
I mean, I love the tropes, don't get me wrong. I love the fact that I know exactly what I'm getting when I watch a Hallmark movie, but it's just I just thought that writer, whoever wrote this movie, must have
a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Steve Sessions is the writer's name.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
He was happy when that line stayed in, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this Founders Day is a big deal.
It made me think of the Vampire Diaries, because they always talk about Founders Day on that show.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, oh my god, Founders Day, is there about to be some vampires up in here? This Hallmark is really stretching it.
Yeah. So he agrees, and he says though that he has all these limitations. Only talk about writing, all this stuff, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to do that," which I thought was bold of her to
Yeah.
do. And he says the only thing is that I get to read the story, but before it goes to print. And I thought for sure that they were going to have that be a bigger plot point going forward. I thought,
Yeah.
oh, that the editor is going to
Change something.
He's going to change it or get it early. He's going to publish it before Martin gets a chance to look at it. I was like, oh, that's going to be a conflict, but it really wasn't going forward. So that was good.
Yeah.
The only real, I guess, part that it played in is that he was like, I trust you later on. So he didn't need to read it before. And then we find out that he always wanted to be a writer, even as a kid, and he created a character called Danny Boyd, which is cute.
I love them talking about their imaginary friends.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would think that a character named Danny Boyd would be Irish.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, was he in, what was that movie? The Full Monty. That's what I was like. Wait, isn't there an actor?
Danny, like a very famous song.
Full Monty.
Which one?
The Full Monty, the movie.
Yeah, the Full Monty. Yeah. That's in England. Is it England or Ireland? I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I don't know.
I think it's England. But yeah, the Danny Boy, that's like a famous song, you know.
Oh, I always thought they were saying Danny Boy, B-O-Y.
They are saying Danny Boy. That's what I'm saying. But if you have a character named Danny Boyd,
oh, I see.
It should be Irish because it's a famous Irish song.
I was like, that song is Danny Boyd? That's weird.
Oh, Danny Boy, I long to hear you away, rolling river. Yes. And so then they start basically dating.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely what's happening.
Yeah, she's writing the article, but I guess she has a notepad sometime, but they're just going out and doing stuff together, and she doesn't have a recorder or anything like that. But he takes her to meet his friend Gus and to fix Gus's gate. And Gus says she's a keeper.
Yeah, I was like, that's it. Close up shop. We're done.
Done. They're going to get married. And then we find out that his dog is named after Ernest Hemingway.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Ernie. So he's really creative with the names here.
Yes.
Danny Boyd, Ernie.
Well, he is a writer.
Yeah, he's a writer.
You better be good at it.
He says, I wanted to see who you were. That's why he took her to meet Gus.
Yeah.
So she passed the test, evidently.
Yeah.
And then day 2, we got to have a photographer because, this is a Hallmark movie. It's Dottie is the photographer.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to come into play.
And she says, this is the life I chose, and that's all there is to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
So and they have this whole conversation, and he says, some things can't be described. And she says, that's an interesting thing coming from a writer.
Yeah, you should be able to put things into words. That is your job.
Well, and then he says, I'm afraid if I stop writing, no one would care. And I think that
he's hoping. I think he's hoping because he doesn't want to write anymore.
Hoping, and then also not, because you don't want to be completely forgettable. I mean, yeah. I can recognize that there is a side of me that's like, if I stopped podcasting, would anybody, there's so many podcasts out there, there's a million other Hallmark podcasts, would anybody aside from the co-hosts care? I hope so.
I think so. Rachel, yes.
I think that's natural. So. I think that's a natural worry that a lot of people have. You know, they worry
Yeah.
about being forgotten.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Or that your life doesn't matter at all.
Don't like
I
that.
mean, that's, if you think about the movie Coco, the idea that your family has forgotten to put you on the ofrenda and that you get forgotten. That's just so sad. So
I've never
sad.
seen that movie, and it sounds depressing, so I'll be avoiding it.
You haven't seen Coco? Pixar?
No.
Oh, it's so
I have
good.
not seen it,
Well, you
but
know, Pixar, they
again,
always bring the waterworks.
yeah, which is why I'm not gonna watch that.
So she gets this poisonous flower from, and
Yeah.
it's definitely so poisonous that she has to wrap her hands like, and so she's not able to use her fingers because they're wrapped. And I mean, this is some serious poison. This is
Yeah,
bad.
but it only lasted for that day.
Yeah.
But like, how embarrassing, first off. Second, it reminded me of the episode of Friends where, is it Phoebe and then Charlie Sheen is the guest star? They get chicken pox and have like oven gloves on their hands so they won't itch.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what it
so
reminded
he's
me of.
made her the soup and he's like, I made the soup for you. You're going to eat it. So he feeds her the soup.
I knew it.
And that was pretty swoon worthy. I think.
As soon as she came in and she had poison on her hands, I was like, he's about to feed her dinner. But then
And
he
Amber,
fed it to her. He fed it to her, but then he was like, finish your soup or something. And so she started using her hands. And I was like, wait, so can you use your hands or not?
I mean, I would think she could at least pick up the bowl and eat it caveman style, but she's got to eat it spoon,
That
with a
would be
spoon.
really embarrassing on top of embarrassing. Oh my gosh.
Not as embarrassing as him feeding you.
Yeah, but that was supposed to be romantic.
It is. And Amber is like, he made you soup, he likes you. And
Yeah,
that
what was she saying about her parents who love each other and dad wouldn't make the mom soup?
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean,
what?
I feel like that is such like a Hallmark thing to be like, somebody did like a basic thing, like making you soup. Oh, you should get married. He obviously loves you. Like
Or
it doesn't take
maybe
much in these stories.
or maybe he just meal planned ahead and that's what was on the menu for the day
Yeah.
was soup.
So they take the next day off and she sees him in town and she's like, "Ooh, there's something going
He's
on
supposed
here."
to be writing.
And it turns out he's reading to kids in the library, which was very sweet. And we see this girl, I think her name was Lauren.
Yes.
And she's very eager. And so Vanessa thinks, "Oh no. This is his girlfriend or whatever." He's evidently feeding her all kinds of soup. And
here's the thing though. He didn't need to say he was at home writing. She could have gone along with that because at a certain point that information becomes handy. It creates a conflict where she's, quote unquote, a journalist. She can't even ask him like, "Hey, I saw you here. Can you please explain?" Like, I don't know. I was like, you guys are creating drama. Here's the conflict. Here's the conflict.
There's really no reason why he couldn't have said, "I'm reading to kids at the library." It doesn't have to be. There's no reason why it has to be his book, or
yeah.
And they'd be like, "I'm working most of the day tomorrow, but I am reading to the kids at the library."
Yeah.
It's like some big secret, but because I guess it's his book that he's reading to them, that's why.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, and
okay,
Lauren is there as the illustrator, and that's why she's so eager and excited.
Interesting. You don't think... Wait, time out. We have a plot hole here. Okay, so you're telling me that James Patterson of the Hallmark world is reading to kids and you don't got parents who are taking pictures and posting this online of the famous person?
But I don't feel like authors are that hounded anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, unless you're talking
I
like,
mean, if I saw Stephen King, I'd be pretty freaking
yeah, Stephen
excited.
King. Stephen King. I feel like I guess if he really is on that level of Stephen King, I feel like Stephen King, Stephanie Meyer, J.K. Rowling.
Stephanie Meyer only has like 3 books. No way. Take her off that list.
No, she's definitely one for sure.
No,
I mean,
I
the
wouldn't be able to
Twilight were such
recognize
a.
her. I wouldn't be able to recognize her in a
Oh,
lineup.
really? I could. I definitely could.
Never.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Forget that she's in the first Twilight. I'm like, oh. No,
Oh,
like,
yeah, she does have a cameo, doesn't she?
but here's the other thing. He's attractive. So I also think there's a level that it doesn't matter what your job is. If you're attractive, people are going to remember you.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
So,
Yeah, I guess this is just like a special magical town where famous
Now-
authors can read.
yeah.
Library.
Now that's a movie I want to watch. At first, when your reaction to Stephen King, I thought you were like, you didn't like Stephen King, but I think your reaction was you didn't think Martin was on Stephen King's level. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. That's why I laughed so hard. I was like, oh, dang, Stephen King has like, you know how many movies he has based on his books?
It's true. It's true.
Sorry, that was why I had such a reaction. I was like, oh, dang, she hates Stephen King.
No, I don't. I don't hate it. I'm not. I mean, I'm a scary wimp, so I.
Yeah.
But he has actually a lot of really good stuff on writing itself.
Yes,
Oh,
I
Stephen
have
King.
is it his memoir? I have that to read. I haven't read it yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he has a new book out called Fairy Tale. I want to read it.
So
His books are far too long, though.
So evidently Martin had an imaginary friend named Danny Boyd, and she had an imaginary friend named Victoria Wadsworth Longfellow. No, they didn't mess around with their imaginary friends.
Because they're both writers. And she's acting like, quote unquote, a journalist, which I'm not saying that because I have anything against journalists. I just don't think what she's doing is necessarily journalism. This interview, okay. But she's also trying to write a book. So I feel like they have similar styles because they were both meant to write.
Yeah, so she started to write this book and then gave up on it, and is kind of not as invested in writing these articles. And he is nervous about the articles because he had a journalist that was super nice and friendly and then wrote a slanderous article on him. Yeah. So very, very frustrating for him. And this is when we get he says he's quitting writing, and he says, all I've been doing is repackaging the same stories with different jackets.
Yeah. I mean, they sounded different.
I mean, I think that there's value in that. I think that you create a brand, and you there's something nice about just knowing, okay, I know what I'm getting when I purchase this author's books. And then if you get something totally different, it can be kind of jarring. So it's a tough thing because I'm sure that as an author, you want to branch out. And not that you shouldn't, but that's why people use pen names a lot of times, is because that's the way that you can branch out, is you can write under a pen name.
Carolyn Keene, baby, Nancy Drew.
Mm-hmm. And so then we also, I should mention that his house is gorgeous in this movie.
Mhm.
They got a beautiful place. So he really is Stephen King rich. That house was beautiful. There was that whole second level with the like mini library.
Yeah.
It was so pretty.
Ernie living it up in the high life of that house.
Yes. So he says he's quitting, and then he shows her the children's book that he's writing.
Yes.
And he's super excited about it. And my sister's a children's book writer. She's done 4
Ooh.
plus a graphic novel plus a new novel that just came out in August, a mid-grade novel called Haven. And so it can be a very exciting thing when you have the picture books are definitely not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah. My best friend illustrates for children's books
Oh, really?
sometimes, so that's always fun.
If it doesn't make you happy, it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a privileged existence.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I could say that about doing dishes, but
yeah, there's the whole philosopher where they were supposedly, I can't remember the philosopher's name, but I remember talking about him in school, that everybody should be allowed to do the thing that's in their nature to do. So like somebody, it's in their nature to play tennis, or someone, it's in their nature to like whatever their job ends up being. But the problem is you get all the way down and there's nobody to collect the trash. So his philosophy doesn't work because nobody's in their nature to do that. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to support your family.
Sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm. I think it kind of depends on how unhappy you are.
Yeah.
Like every job has moments that are frustrating and difficult. There's no perfect job. But if you are like consistently miserable, then you need to make a change.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Yeah. You can make change. Yeah. And sometimes being able to make some changes also is based in privilege, right? Because, I would love just to like take a year off of everything and then figure out the second half of my life. But
yeah,
my savings account does not agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that if you are, it depends on, I guess, how I do think it depends on how unhappy you are. If you are getting to a truly dark place, then nothing is worth, no job is worth that. But sometimes you do have to slog through it.
Yeah.
So there's, I don't know, balance. But she brings the article to him and says goodbye, and he says, I trust you, which was very sweet. And
I also was like, he was probably like 10 columns. I don't want to read that.
That would be like my family. If I did like a feature article on them, they'd be like,
10 columns. That sounds like a lot.
It's a lot.
Oh my goodness.
And he says, I did think maybe there was something between you and I, which was very sweet, very cute.
And we all agree.
Yeah. And she says, you're here and I'm there. And he says, timing is everything. And here's the thing, that if there's no way in the world that moving is a worse. I hate moving more than almost anything else in the world, but
yes,
there's no way that it's a worse choice than then like you should move if you have a chance at a like viable relationship. You should move if you think you have a chance at a viable relationship. There's no world where moving is the worst choice than being with the love of your life. I always find this conflict to be so phony because I can't think of any human being that's like, well, we live in different places, so we can't be together. That's that.
Or at least, like, can we talk about figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
You know, because there are things to figure out, you know, but I also liked how she just, like, walked out of there like, "Bye, I'm leaving now, see you later." It was like, that's it, like, she just peeled out of there, you know, smoke coming from the car. She didn't really, but that's what it felt like. She was out of there, and he was like, "Oh, wait, you're leaving?" Like, yeah, I was like, "Girl, you need to take a moment. You're not going to stay in touch at least."
I mean,
like,
I can say
try long distance.
If I meet the love of my life, I will move.
I
promise you that.
First.
Yeah. And
you heard it here first.
So much.
I will move if someone else packs up my crap.
Okay. We'll get professional movers over at Alysa's house if she meets the love of her life.
Yeah. Just need an extra couple thousand to get my crap moved.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it would be such a pain for me because I have lived here since 2013 in my current place.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's a long time. I
have only lived here. Well, I've lived here 5 years, which is a long time to live somewhere. But also, I find it interesting that, like, the space I'm in, did I have this much stuff or have I adapted to the space around me? Because why do I have so much crap?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, I can't imagine, like, before me was a couple. And I was like, where did they each put their stuff? Like, my stuff is everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Right. I know. I think that too. Like, how did I have roommates before?
Yeah, but like, this is not possible.
We forgot to mention that he supposedly types all of his novels on a old school
no
typewriter.
wonder he wants to quit.
And,
do you know what a pain that is? One error, you're starting over.
So Dottie comes over and she has the photographs of them together. So he gets very lonely for her. And so he sends her the typewriter, and on the typewriter it has her motto, which we haven't talked about, but it's "Go boldly in your dreams" is her motto. And she says, if I'm going to have a life motto, I need to live by it.
Yeah, and then she just walked out of there. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
She did not boldly go in the right direction.
Yeah, I did like when she called Amber back. She says, "Is there room for one more at the inn?" Kind of made me laugh. You know.
Yeah.
No room at the inn. Is this a Christmas movie?
But also, clearly there is. There hasn't been one guest in that bed and breakfast this entire movie. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, good gravy. Hey, wasn't that other one we talked about? The guest was a writer. Okay, this is eerie. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
Was she a writer? I can't remember.
Well, one of the guests was. Maybe the dude was. I feel like someone in that movie was also a writer.
But
sorry, I'm having flashbacks.
And so then he says, the person I want to dance with is miles away. He's all lonely, very sad.
Gus is like, hold on a second.
And he says, I never thought I'd see you again. I hoped. And very cute. The life I imagine includes you. So then they finally kiss.
Finally, and then it was like, credits, bye. It was like her leaving him 10 minutes prior. We're out of here.
Well, our friends...
I turned and I was like, it's over?
Our friends have a podcast called One Kiss Means Forever.
Yes.
And basically the idea is that in Hallmark movies, one kiss means that you're married. It's forever. Going back.
We don't need anything else before credits. We ain't got time for that.
Right. So there we go. We talked about the movie. I think it was a cute one. I enjoyed it.
Cute. I enjoyed it too. I enjoyed it too. Although there are a couple plot holes, but I'll give it to them, because in exchange of those plot holes, we got that classic line from the writer about that sort of tongue-in-cheek about Hallmark movies. What was the quote again about the different book covers?
Where is it? I have it somewhere.
This was not planned, friends. She is looking in her notes.
That it was the same story, different jackets, and we're packaging the same stories with different jackets.
Yes. I will forgive the plot holes for that line alone.
Yeah, that's a good one. And he also says that everyone thinks that he was an overnight success with the first novel, but he had actually gotten rejected. His first novel that never got published had been rejected. And that, they say at least on Broadway, they say every overnight sensation is 10 years in the making. And I think that that's genuinely true with most careers.
Yeah.
Is that
I was gonna say,
it takes
I don't
about
trust. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it takes 10 years a lot of times to the things you think, oh, this was overnight, is really been in the works for a long time. I mean, I remember them saying that about Ariana DeBose last year for the Oscars, overnight sensation or whatever. And she's been in movies and Broadway and television and stuff for forever. She's not an overnight sensation.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't trust anyone who hasn't been rejected.
Yeah, that's true.
Seriously, everything needs to be drafted, right? This is like students turning in papers, and I'm always like, let's be sure your first draft isn't your last draft, right? Seriously, things have to be edited, improved. There's a process. So I don't trust the overnight success stuff.
That's true.
There was work to be had.
It's true. And I'll go through, because I don't have an editor for my writing, unfortunately. And so it's just my own content. And so I'll go through it, and I think I've caught everything, and it never fails. And then the next day I'll go and read it, and I'm like, how did I miss that? And especially it's so annoying. Whenever you mention a name of a movie or a show or something like that, you're supposed to italicize it, and it never fails that I miss. I just posted today one of the patron AFI Passions posts that I do every week, and I was looking through it, and I probably looked through this thing I don't know, maybe even 10 times. I looked at it many times, and I had 2 titles that I had italicized. I'm like, it's the bane of my existence.
That's me. That's me. As a professor, I'll have created assignment sheets, looked at them a bunch of times, and then I open up the assignment again just to refresh my memories so that I can talk about it in class and make it, a PowerPoint slide. And I'll go in there and be like, what did I do in this assignment sheet? There's so many typos.
Yeah, it's really hard to see in your own writing. It's very, it's difficult. You really need an editor.
Yeah. But, so it's not just there's no author that's an overnight success. There are no pieces of writing that are overnight successes.
That's true. Well, let us know if you're listening what you think of this one. We would love to hear your thoughts. And Alysa, where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Dr. Alysa Lucas and Friends W Alysa for Friends with Alysa, which covers all of my podcasts. Everywhere else, I'm Friends with Alysa. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, web, etc. So please come check out more friendship on my podcast, Best Forevers.
Very good. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out and let me know if you find non-italicized words in my reviews. I would be very grateful. Very grateful.
Oh, goodness.
And then make sure you're following us at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews for both of our podcasts. We would sure be grateful. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. We also have our Patreon group where you can read those AFI Passions Project posts, which are really good. It's super cheap and definitely worth your while to join the Patreon, and you can be part of the planning and also the discussions. And also we have our monthly movie watch-alongs, which are really fun. So check that out. And we also have the merch store, which is super fun. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye.